The order came down in a dim bunker beneath the ruins of Königsplatz, the concrete trembling from distant American artillery. Hitler's voice, brittle and strained, cut through the stale smoke-filled air as he slammed his fist against the map table. Patton as the spear. Break the spear and the Americans fracture. Kill Patton, at any cost. A silence followed, broken only by the faint rattle of dust from the ceiling. His generals did not question it. They simply bowed, saluted, and vanished through the Feldgrau-painted corridors to deliver the impossible order. Outside the bunker, Germany was burning. The sky over Berlin glowed an infernal crimson, the firestorms painting the clouds like the inside of a furnace. Somewhere far from that dying capital, General George S. Patton sat in the turret of an American Sherman, his ivory-handled pistol shining at his hip, his binoculars scanning the distant ridges of a battered French hamlet. His tanks had carved through the German countryside like steel wolves, swallowing villages and crossroads with unstoppable momentum. He felt invincible, and his men believed he was. But the order had already been dispatched. Within 24 hours of Hitler uttering the words, a clandestine armored Kampfgruppe was assembled. They called it, Würger, Strangler. No insignias, no unit designation, only the mission: intercept Patton's command group and annihilate it. Its commander, Oberst Siegfried Foch, had once served in the Afrika Korps and knew Patton's reputation well. He studied the American general the way a hunter stalks the last lion in a dying savanna. He does not retreat. He does not slow. So we must strike while he charges, Foch murmured to his adjutant as he laid out the ambush plans. We bleed him before he knows we exist. Patton pushed his armor column toward the Meuse with savage drive, the rumble of hundreds of Sherman tanks shaking the roads. Villagers emerged from cellars with stunned gratitude, tossing flowers and wine bottles, waving tricolor flags. Patton accepted every gesture with a curt nod and that wolfish grin. He did not know that beyond those same hills, Foch's Würger force waited in a concealed rifleman's paradise, dense pines, ravines, and a half-collapsed viaduct perfect for a kill box. The first duel came at sunrise. American recon jeeps crested a ridge and vanished in a bloom of fire as German 88s barked from hidden pits. The shockwave rolled through the column, forcing Patton to wrench his binoculars up in disbelief. "Goddamn, they're still out there biting," he snarled as a second barrage hammered the tree line. Shermans pivoted, their turrets whirring as gunners barked target bearings. The air filled with tracer streaks, cordite, and splintering timber. Patton leapt down from his tank and strode across the dirt, shouting orders with a fury that erased all hesitation. His soldiers swore they saw rounds glance off the dirt at his feet, but he never flinched. Foch watched the unfolding battle through a sniper's scope. He wasn't aiming for Patton, yet. He wanted to test the Americans' reaction time, to measure how fast the lions of the Third Army would adapt when cornered. The Americans pushed through the ambush like a battering ram, burning out the German gun pits with smoke and shells. Foch withdrew like a ghost, leaving behind nothing but broken casings and frozen bodies. Patton advanced again. In Berlin, Hitler demanded results with trembling rage. The Allies move as if the Rhine were a puddle. Stop Patton or I'll find men who will. The Würger unit swelled with reinforcements, Tiger tanks, Jagdpanzers, mobile artillery, every surviving monster of German steel that could still move under its own power. Fuel was siphoned from abandoned trucks, rear units, even civilian stores. Also Foch could create a mobile armored dagger sharper than anything left on the Eastern or Western Front. The second clash unfolded under a silver moon. Patton bivouacked his armor along a wide field bordered by hedgerows while engineers repaired a shattered bridge. The men heated rations and cleaned barrels, some drifting to sleep atop their turrets. Then the night exploded. Flare shells burst overhead, cascading green and orange fire across the darkness. A chorus of tank engines roared from the forest as Tigers punched into the clearing, their 88s vomiting annihilation. The first Sherman evaporated in a mushroom of white-hot fragments. The second folded in on itself like wet cardboard. Alarm klaxons screamed as American gunners scrambled to bring their cannons to life. Patton sprinted through the chaos, waving his pistol toward the burning tree line. Form line. Spread. Knock those bastards out before they rake the bridge. His officers echoed the commands as crews kicked their tanks into gear. Shermans darted like startled deer compared to the hulking tigers, but they had speed, and numbers. Dozens maneuvered behind haystacks, barns, and stone walls, turning the meadow into a vast chessboard lit by fire. Round after round screamed across the field. When a Sherman crewman popped out of the hatch to spot targets, a German MG-42 cut him down before his shout could form. The Tigers advanced in a perfect staggered arc, their commanders screaming fire discipline and range calls through the hatch radios. For 15 minutes the armored duel raged, a contest of nerves and mechanical terror. Finally, Patton's artillery found the range. A barrage of American 155s thundered from the ridge, blanketing the Tigers beneath a rain of steel. Foch was forced to pull back again, but not before leaving the meadow filled with charred wrecks, both German and American. At dawn, Patton walked the battlefield. He touched the scorched armor of a destroyed Sherman and pressed his palm flat against its blackened plating. "They're hunting us, boys," he told his staff. "So we turn the hunt around." His plan was simple: outrun the Ghost Force, cross the Meuse, and use superior logistics to choke the Germans out. It might have worked, if Foch hadn't anticipated the very same maneuver. Hitler congratulated Foch on the night raid, but it wasn't enough. The Führer demanded proof: Patton's corpse, his insignia, his pistols, anything to show the Americans' most aggressive general was gone. Foch bowed again and vanished to plan the third and decisive strike. Patton's column dashed toward the river, the roads vibrating beneath the steel tide. Civilians fled in the opposite direction, families with goats, wagons, mattresses strapped to cars without roofs. The sky hummed with P-47 Thunderbolts providing air cover, their engines snarling like mechanical hawks. Patton felt confident again. But 30 kilometers from the crossing, the lead tanks hit a patch of torn asphalt and cratered ground. Engineers checked the road, teller mines. Before they could shout a warning, an entire ridgeline erupted as German Nebelwerfers laid down a curtain of shrieking rockets. The sky turned black with smoke as Panthers surged from a ravine, their angular hulls flashing with muzzle fire. Patton climbed into the turret of a Sherman and snatched the radio handset. "All guns forward. Push those bastards off the ridge or die trying." His tank lurched into motion as German rounds ricocheted off the hull with ear-splitting shrieks. Shermans fired on the move, their shells shattering pine stands and cratering the ridge. AP-47 dived, spewing machine gun fire that stitched across the Panther engine decks. One German tank belched flame and toppled into the ravine. Another reversed to safety. Foch rode in the cupola of a Panther, goggles down, headset crackling. He could see Patton's command tank by its bold maneuvers, no hesitations, no retreating arcs, always charging at the point of maximum fire. Foch admired the audacity even as he ordered his gunners to annihilate it. A Panther round slammed into the Sherman's glacis, nearly throwing Patton against the turret ring. Sparks showered the crew, but the armor miraculously held. Patton roared with laughter. "Is that all you've got? Drive, you sons of bitches." The duel intensified until the Panther column risked being encircled. Foch ordered smoke and retreated yet again, his radio filled with curses from Berlin demanding escalation. This time he vowed not to withdraw. He would make his stand at the crossing itself. Patton neared the Meuse by late afternoon. Engineers had rigged pontoons and Bailey bridges, while artillery hammered the opposite bank to disrupt any German positions. The Third Army prepared to surge across the river in what Patton believed would be the thrust that broke the remaining organized German resistance in the region. As dusk settled, the sky filled with the oppressive buzz of Luftwaffe engines, He-111 bombers escorted by Me-262 jets streaking overhead like silver daggers. Bombs crashed along the pontoon bridge, shattering planks and sending American engineers flying into the water. Patton's tanks fired skyward, their tracers arcing uselessly at the jets. Then, over the roar of collapsing steel, German armor surged from both flanks, Tigers from the east bank, Panthers from the west, while Nebelwerfers raked the crossing point into hellish mud. Patton realized instantly what Foch intended. "They're trying to bottle us at the river. We break through or we drown." He ordered his armor to form a spearhead and commenced the most aggressive crossing attempt of the campaign. Tanks plunged onto the rebuilt Bailey Bridge as German rounds chewed the railings. One Sherman took a hit mid-span and toppled into the river, dragging its crew to the depths as oil slicks ignited around them. Men swam for their lives beneath the shriek of incoming rounds. Falk drove his own Panther to the edge of the west bank, binoculars in hand. When he spotted Patton's command tank crossing the decking, he seized the gunner's shoulder. That one. Load APCR. Range 600. The Panther's turret slewed and locked onto the Sherman as it crawled over the trembling trusswork. The gun thundered. The shell punched through the Sherman like a fist through wet canvas. Flames geysered from the hatches as the tank bucked sideways and stopped dead on the bridge. Falk exhaled in triumph. But Patton wasn't inside. His crew had convinced him moments earlier to switch tanks due to engine trouble. Patton emerged from the smoke in a different Sherman, his pistol waving as he pointed toward Falk's armored spear. "That's the bastard leading them. Take him out." American armor surged onto the west bank, machine guns carving through infantry while 76mm rounds sought the Panther's flanks. Falk climbed back into his cupola and bellowed orders. His Panthers fired point blank against oncoming Shermans, tearing through their armor and scattering burning wreckage across the bank. But the Americans refused to yield. A platoon of Shermans flanked through an orchard, circling behind the Panther line. Falk watched in horror as a Sherman round slammed into the side of the lead Panther, sending its turret soaring into the air like a spinning coin. The second Panther caught fire from an incendiary round and exploded, its ammunition detonating in a pillar of flame. The momentum shifted in seconds. Patton's Sherman charged straight at Falk's tank. The German commander swung his turret around, but his loader shouted that they were out of APCR. The next shell fired, an HE round, burst against the Sherman's hull without penetrating. Patton barked at his gunner. The Sherman's cannon belched fire. The round tore through the Panther's front plate with a shriek of ripping metal. Falk's tank lurched to a stop. Flames engulfed the crew compartment. Falk pulled himself from the hatch, helmet ablaze, and collapsed onto the mud as Patton's column thundered past toward open French countryside. The Meuse crossing succeeded. The Werger force was shattered. Hitler waited in Berlin for proof of Patton's death that would never arrive. When he finally learned of Falk's failure, he slammed his fist into the map table again, but there were no more armored ghosts to send, no more fuel, no more time. The empire of fire he built crumbled around him. Patton stood on the western bank of the Meuse, smoke drifting across the water like torn silk. His men limped past, bandaged and soot-covered, but victorious. He holstered his pistol and looked across the horizon, where the last embers of German resistance flickered in retreat. If that was their best shot, he muttered, they should have taken it sooner. The hunt was over. Patton lived. Hitler's order died like every doomed gambit before it, choked beneath the tracks of American steel.